want to know about the gate mapping annotations more because I did. Yeah, I just don't understand that when you type in URL when a local host and like, when using that slash welcome we can see that message. So exact gate mapping I don't understand that.
So whenever you are sending a request from the browser, by
Yes.
default it will become a GET request. So our method should be binded to HTTP GET request. Request mapping. Every method should be binded to one URL pattern. So that URL pattern mapping I am doing by using GET mapping. GET mapping is the annotation which is used to bind your method to HTTP GET request. If you want to bind it to a post request, then HTTP post request you will bind by using post mapping. This is HTTP request mapping. Every request which is coming from the browser is a HTTP request only. So whether it is a GET request or post request, we will represent that by using this annotation.
Okay, sir.
Spandana, what is your doubt?
No, sir, I don't have notes.
Arun Prajapati, what is your doubt?
Yes, sir. Hello.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, good evening, sir. Sir, I have doubt on folder structure. That is web app. Web app is mandated to that web
Yes,
app.
sir, because we are creating the web related files, right? So you need to keep that web app folder.
Okay. And one more doubt is that the JSP Jasper dependency is written only JSP or HTML also. Or
It is for only JSPs.
if I want to return HTML, then
You cannot do that, sir. HTML is a static pages. Now I will tell you, whenever you go for HTML, that time we need to use a time leaf. Currently we are talking about JSP. When you go for time leaf, then I will tell you how to work with the HTML. When you are working with HTML, this is Tomcat embedded Jasper not required.
So one Jasper embedded, we can write more Jasper pages.
Right. If you have any number of JSPs, this dependency is sufficient.
sir, one more doubt that is, I think that is not covered, but I heard somewhere that is what is the difference between add attribute and add object? That is add object.
Yeah, will come in the future. That is not yet discussed.
Yes.
Yeah, next one. Amandeep, what is your doubt?
Hi Ashok. I have multiple questions on JPA repository. When you were covering the session, I had questions over there. So I'll take one by one. Okay.
Sure.
Yeah. In the last session, you explained the concept of rollback. In my opinion, that was nothing but transactional. So everything succeeds or nothing succeeds. So I have worked extensively on transactions in my career. I want to know what is the default transaction manager used by Spring?
There is a big class name, sir. When we are talking about that connection pooling and all, I will discuss about the transaction. There is a JTA platform transaction manager. That is the big lengthy class name will be available.
Okay. And can we override the default one? For example, if it is a XA transaction manager and I want to use
You
Arjuna.
can do that. You can override it.
Okay. My next question was, when we were doing JPA, we basically discussed more or less like a DML statement. So how to insert, make CRUD operations.
Right.
What about DDL? Say for example, I want to have my schema embedded with.
Let me tell you. First of all, data JPA is meant for performing simple CRUD operations on the tables. It is not meant for executing complex join queries and all.
Okay.
So the main intention of the JPA, people are writing the boilerplate code to perform the CRUD operations. They just want to simplify that. That's the reason they provided predefined methods for only CRUD operations.
Okay.
If you want to perform any complex operations by joining the tables and all, then you need to go for more.
Okay. Clear. My third question on JPA was, for example, like you just mentioned, that all these queries the Spring take care of. So simple CRUD operations.
Right.
But where exactly the implementation is? So the JPA
The
extend.
right, I will tell you that. So here we are adding data JPA starter, right?
Yeah. Can you please share the screen as well and show us where exactly the implementation is?
Implementation we can't see with our eyes, man. That implementation will come in the runtime.
GPA repository extends eventually the CRUD repository, and the ultimate interface is repositories. And then it creates the query. So based upon, say for example, if I say find by
I understand. I understand. That is what I'm telling you. Whenever we create a repository by extending the interface, in the Spring Boot, there are predefined beans are available. Whenever you run your application, that repository that you have created will be loaded by the data GPA that will create a class for you in the runtime as a proxy class. That proxy class we can't see.
okay, and it is not even available in that
No,
target folder.
no, no, nowhere. Proxy classes we can't see.
And is there some kind of a implementation code which generates this proxy class? Can I have
That's
a
right.
look at that?
No, you can't do that. That is what I'm telling you. Proxy class will be created in the runtime that is not visible for you.
No, I understand proxy class is not visible. I fully understand. But what I'm saying is there must be a Spring logic to generate that proxy class, right?
That logic you need to see the predefined classes of the data JPA. We need to find out that. I also never identified that. We need to dig into all the predefined classes which are available in the data JPA jar file. Dot class files will be available. Those dot class files, if you open, then there might be a definitely there will be a logic. We need to figure out where that logic is.
I was trying to search on Google as well, got some hints, but I really didn't fully understand how this entire.
Even I never checked it, man. Even I did not check that.
Okay. My last question on JPL. So,
Yeah.
for example, now this is an architectural point of view. So, for example, you were putting the or you were inserting or making a CRUD operation on a database, and for example, for some reason, database goes down. Is there a default fault tolerant mechanism within Spring JPL?
No, it's not available. That you need to handle programmatically. For example,
So,
simple. In the real time, even in my current project also, database is available. The database will not run in only one system.
of
They
course,
they are going to implement the database with the racks concept.
I totally understand data
Yeah,
centers, different data
yeah,
centers.
data centers will be available, rack concept will be available, database listeners will be available. If one database server goes down, then definitely the rack will enable the listener. It will divert the traffic to the second data center. That should be managed at the backend part. Spring JPA will not deal with that concept. Not
Okay.
only Spring JPA, no ORM framework will deal with that fault tolerance. Fault tolerance, that is our requirement. We have to implement that at the backend.
Understand. Okay, clear. Then my question on today's session, when we started this Spring MVC, we started with the front controller and handler mapper, if I'm not wrong.
Right.
But when you created the project, we were directly putting the request on the controller
Right.
and not.
Dispatcher servlet is something which will be executed in the background by the Spring Boot. That is called auto configuration. Now, so whenever, let me stop my application and let me run my application again. Run as tab. If you see here, can you see my screen?
Yes,
Yeah. Now my application is getting run, getting started already. So you see here, what does that mean?
application, web application context.
What does it mean?
It is creating an application context.
No, 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 no. IOC container started.
Yes, that's correct.
IOC container started. It load all the bins which are required. Now I'm clearing my console. Okay, now I'm going to send a request. First request. My request got processed. Now, can you see the message here?
Dispatcher server.
Initializing Spring Dispatcher Servlet. What does it mean?
So the request went to the front controller. It
Who is
initialized it.
configuring that front controller?
Spring.
Spring Boot.
Yeah.
That is auto configuration. So that means dispatcher servlet configuration, handler mapper configuration, view resolver configuration, view configuration, everything is taken care by Spring. Here, as a programmer, what we are doing, we are just creating the control and creating the view files.
But like you mentioned yesterday, when the request comes, so I understand now with this that the dispatcher servlet on the front controller is configured via Spring Boot via auto configuration, but
Mm-hmm.
it has to return the correct controller through the get mapper, handler mapper.
Right,
So
right.
let's say I have 10 controllers. One is greet, another one is welcome, and then you can name
Yeah,
up it
I
again.
understand. Right, right, right.
how would he know via auto configuration that which one is the correct controller,
Based on
assuming
the
that
I understand. Tell you here, whenever a request come, whenever you are starting your application, handler mapper will scan all the classes which are available in our application. It is going to identify what all the URL patterns are available in our entire application. Now, so what is the meaning of this 10th line?
this is basically the URI will have greet.
Great. It is binded to what type of request? Get request.
Yes.
So in the entire application, whenever a get request comes to slash greet URL, that means that is responsible to handled by this method, which is available in the greet controller. Can it make a note of that? Similarly, it is going to scan the entire application and it is going to note down which URLs are binded to which methods. Those methods are available in the which classes. That it is going to make a note. Now that means handler mapper will maintain a memory, request URL mapping memory. Whenever a dispatcher select gives that URL request information to the handler mapper, then handler mapper will can directly tell that this URL binded to so and so class.
Understand, but now I'm trying to imagine how will it look like in a IOC container. So
It's a map. It's a map. Key value.
yes, but everything is a part of IOC container.
Right, right.
But then when so I'm trying to figure out in my head. So when this everything gets loaded up, so you have a cache where you have all the handler mapper URI mapping there.
Mhm.
But when a request comes, it says give me. So the controller is slash welcome.
Yep.
So IOC has to pick up the correct page and give the control to that particular controller.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
And let's say now, like you just said, the view is .jsp. But if I have multiple technologies integrated in it, let's say
Then
I have,
you let me tell you. By default, whenever we are working with the Spring or Spring Boot, by default we'll configure one view resolver. Whether it should support for JSPs or it should support for the time loops. Suppose I want to work with multiple view technologies in the single project. Then you need to write a customized configuration. For these files, you need to use this view resolver. For these view files, you need to use another view resolver. That programmatically you need to differentiate that. But currently, I am using only one view technology in the entire project, only JSP. For handling that JSP files, this view resolver is sufficient.
yeah, I understand. Okay,
Yeah, tomorrow, some pages I want to use as JSP, some pages I want to use as a time. Then I need to go for two view resolvers.
correct.
Right. That
And in that
programmatically we need to handle that.
and when you say programmatically, we need to write a code or configuration is enough.
No, no, no. Code we have to write. We
Okay,
have to we need to custom. We need currently one view resolver bean. It is loading by default. If you want to have two different view technologies, then two view resolvers you have to take.
okay, I understand. My last question now. I have already taken too much time. My last question.
Yeah, no problem. Please go ahead.
I understand this dispatcher circlet is auto configured, but if I take it in a distributed model, say for example, if I have a enterprise application running, all
Uh-huh.
the requests will be routed to one dispatcher circlet.
Right.
Will that not be a kind of, I would
No.
say, one point fail system?
No, man. Dispatcher servlet will not do that because dispatcher servlet is not going to execute any logic. Dispatcher servlet will just is a pass through. It will take it, it will forward it. For every request, one thread will be created by the dispatcher servlet.
And that is exactly what I also meant. So when it is creating, even if it is a pass through, it is creating one thread.
Yep.
So if I have too many requests coming in and I have one point of failure in an architecture,
Then your question is something like a load balancing.
yes,
Then you need to load balance that applications. You need to deploy your application to multiple servers. Then, so instead of sending all the requests to one server, then you need to distribute your request to multiple servers. Auto scaling you need to do.
and is that possible with Spring Boot by default? I'm actually a TIPCO
That
person.
I understand.
in the middleware. So these are extremely important concepts. Whenever
Yeah,
I design my architecture, I make sure that the threads are always available for my application.
I got it, man. Because even I'm also working on such kind of application. I'm working on a banking application, so performance is very important for us. I'm working for
Absolutely. I also work for bank.
right. Good. Which bank?
I am in Amsterdam. I work for ING.
ING. Okay, good. Fine. So in that scenario, whenever the load is increasing on our application, there is nothing that dispatch servlet can do, or there is nothing that Spring Boot can do. That you need to design your architecture in such a way with the load balancing.
Yeah, but let's say for example, can I spin a new container consisting of my, let's say, application?
You need to spin your application in another server. That is another instance.
Okay.
Right. So now 100 requests are coming. Now I will spin my servers 5 times. I will run 5 instances of my server. That means my Spring Boot application will run in 5 different servers. In every server, dispatch servlet will be there. Because same war file I'm going to deploy in 5 servers,
But
5 instances I'm going to do.
but then in that case, the URI of all every server is
Their DNS comes into picture. Now, do you think that Facebook is running in one server?
of course.
No, right? So millions of requests it is handling. But everybody is eating same URL or different URL?
See, of course, I understand, but that is exactly what my question was, because there needs to be something before the dispatcher service so that it routes it
That's where DNS comes into picture.
Exactly.
Domain naming service. Now, www.facebook.com is the public URL. But that public URL is having 1,000 private URLs. Facebook1.com, Facebook2.com, Facebook3.com, 4.com, so on. Those are not visible to people. Those are the DNS names. Those DNS IPs, elastic IPs will be available. Those elastic IPs will be binded to the DNS URL, that is www.facebook.com. Whenever the request comes to the facebook.com URL, it will internally identify this request should go to which server. It will forward that request to that particular server, which is actually called as a cluster.
And this is exactly what I was missing in the yesterday's diagram. Before the dispatcher service,
Because I did not explain, because we are not, suppose whatever the discussion that we had, cluster, DNS, private IPs, public IPs, people will not come to tomorrow's class. अरे ये बंदा क्या बात कर रहे हैं? समझा?
Thank you. I understand now. It's clear.
So now our focus is mainly to understand dispatcher servlet and Spring MVC architecture. When we go to, because today our journey is just started for the web application. When we go to microservices, whatever the questions that you ask for today, all those things are the topics in the microservices. Load balancing, cluster setup, nodes, spinning up the servers, all those things are part of microservices. In the microservices, I'm going to tell all these topics. Practically, I am going to show you how load balancing will work. I will send you a request. I will show you this request is going to first server, this request is going to second server, this request is going to third server. I will prove that practically in our class. That is as part of microservice. If you see the course content of our Spring Boot, you can find one concept called load balancing algorithms. That is what you are asking. Before dispatcher servlet, what will happen? Before the request coming to dispatch servlet, what will happen? That is your question. That concept belongs to cluster setup with load balancing.
And the transaction manager also you will take it in microservices.
Yep, right. Because I'm going to tell you how to connect with the multiple databases in the single application.
And also the database plus message broker. Say for example,
Message broker Apache Kafka will be covered in the course. Yeah, I told you today one statement. Movie just started. So long we have to go. So many real-time topics will come. But good, today we had very great technical discussion. I like this.
Thank you. Yeah, I like this too.
Good, man. Very good. So I like this kind of questions, but I felt too technical. People who are, I hope you are able to understand what we are talking. That guy is working, so he's able to ask the very real-time questions. Even I am also working, so able to answer. So if the people are working, then this kind of healthy and technical conversations we can see. I hope you all enjoyed.
Yes, sir, but not understanding English.
ठीक है वो दूर का बात है माइक्रो सर्विसेज में हम सब सीख लेंगे ठीक है या Andeep what's your name man Andeep
Amandeep Sharma.
Mandeep Sharma very good man good questions you asked today
Yeah, I design all these every day. So
Yeah. So are you happy with my answers?
no, I'm kind of happy. I'm actually curious how the Spring Boot works. I mostly do in middleware. I have
Okay.
quite knowledge of middlewares, but I want to learn something new.
Okay. This Spring Boot, most of the things are happening automatically in the Spring Boot. That is one of the main advantage. That is the reason we will say the main reason people going for Spring Boot is auto configuration. For example, if you go for Spring Framework, you need to configure the dispatches a little manually. But here,
in my career, they actually go
For example,
Kafka as a message broker to develop event microservices.
exactly, and not
హలో ఏమని
ఇప్పుడు మా అబ్బాయి నాకు ఏమవుతుంది కొడుకే కదా లేకపోతే కొడుకులు పెట్టారు
కొడుక
ఇప్పుడు మీ అబ్బాయి నీకు ఏమవుతుంది అలా పెట్టి పెట్టేది
సరే లేకపోతే కొడుకని పెడతాను
సరే సరే ఉంటాను
When we need to go for HTTP services, when we need to go for message broker services. I will differentiate clearly. Good. Because that is what I'm doing in my current project. Microservices. Some microservices are having connections with the other microservices using HTTP. Some microservices are just exchanging the data by using Apache Kafka. So we know clearly when to go for which. Thank you. Good, sir. Next one. I hope your questions are done.
Yes, thank you. Thanks a lot.
Cool.
Sir,
Yeah, madam.
what is load balancer, sir?
That is future topic, madam. That is future topic we'll discuss in the microservices.
Okay, sir.
Cool. Load balancer means simply distributing the load.
Okay.
Good, good. Yeah. Next, Jitendra Singh. आपका डाउट क्या है भाई?
Yes, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Sir, I have doubt in the control you have created a model and view object. Then, sir, where is the class for that, sir?
Which class?
Model and view.
That is a predefined class, na? It is a predefined class I'm importing. It is a predefined class provided by Spring Web MVC, sir.
Okay, so we have to only create object for that.
We
class.
just need to import. Simple, sir. Array list. Array list class. Are you developing or it is already developed?
Already done.
We are just using that, na? Similarly, model and view class also already developed. It is available in the Spring. We are just using that to set the data. It is a predefined class available in the Spring Web MVC.
And also one more doubt, sir. After in the main folder, after we are writing web app, and after that we are writing view. View is necessary or not, sir?
Required, sir. You need to keep that. If you don't need, I mean, views is optional. Just for improving the readability, I created a views. You can keep any folder name, pages, or UI files. Any folder name you can keep. If you don't keep anything, then in the properties file you just need to give as a slash. That's it. Prefix the location, the path. Okay.
Means if we are creating that folder after in the web app, sir, then we have to write only slash.
Right. Right.
Okay.
If you don't create that, you just need to keep it as a slash. That's it.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Good. Next, Saurabh. Saurabh.
Hi, sir.
Hello.
Hi, sir.
Hi, man. Tell me, what is your doubt?
Sir, in controller class we have written model and view object, right?
Yeah.
But I heard that it is not the right way to
Sir, this is today is the first application, man. Coming
Okay.
classes I will remove that and I will return only string. It will
String,
come.
right.
will
Hi
come.
sir, what about the request mapping, sir?
Instead of request mapping is outdated annotation because if you write a request mapping, again you need to specify method is equal to get or post. Directly to map it to get request, I have a get mapping annotation.
Okay, request mapping is outdated, sir.
Right, that is in the 3.0. Get mapping came in the 4.0.
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you.
Right. Next, Vaibhav Sharma. Vaibhav Sharma, what is your doubt? Deva Prasad, Amina Begum, Krishna Timmidi,
Sir, hello.
Srikanth Josh, Nagendra Uppara, Dayamani, and one, oh my god, too many people have doubts today.
Hello.
Yeah, please guys, go ahead.
Sir, today I got the error, white label error. This application has no explicit mapping error. So I pasted the error in the chat, sir.
Maybe there is some wrong URL that you might have.
Wrong URL
Yeah,
means?
hi sir, this is Nagendra. So currently for Spring Data, for basic web operations we use Spring Data JPA. So can we use for customized like implementations by using Spring Data JPA? And one more question is, can we use both Spring Data JPA and Spring ORM in a single project?
No sir, actually Spring ORM when you are using, we can't go for data JPA. No, there should be two different. Spring JDBC and data JPA, that can be used in the single project. Okay. Right.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening, madam.
Sir, actually, I need yesterday MVC video. So I check in the drive which they upload, but I didn't find any MVC related video.
Sure, madam. I will look into the. So Spring, I will tell you. I will ask them to look into it. Admin people will look into it.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Hi, Ashok.
Hello, sir.
Actually, in this controller, we were using view as JSP, right?
Yes.
So if we write one more controller, can we return as other than JSP we can do? Like,
yeah, right. We can do timely if you can use.
Okay, I mean in the other controller also.
Right.
Controller by controller we can change.
Yes.
So okay, one more doubt was like in the URL we were mentioning, in the get mapping, @get mapping, we were mentioning /welcome, right? So
yeah.
if both, two controls, let's.
Yeah, I understand, sir. There should be, there is a chance of getting URL ambiguity. Always your URL patterns should be unique. Tomorrow I will tell you how you need to map the URLs.
Okay.
That is our topic we will discuss.
Okay, as per my knowledge, right, JPA repository, just I was sharing my knowledge, it will use CG lib library proxy. Using that library, it will create proxy files, and it will directly create .class files for the JPA repository.
Right, sir. CGLibs are the libraries which are using internally. We are going to create the proxy classes for our repositories. We'll execute in the runtime.
Yes.
That's right. Your understanding is correct.
Yes,
okay.
Hello, Ashok sir.
Hi, Vaibhav.
Yes, sir. I requested you, sir. Actually, means last Saturday I called you, sir. This time is my office time, so I can't share my screen. In my personal laptop, I want to ask some doubts, and I requested you in a Saturday. Then you told I'll be on Monday and I'll call you, but you didn't.
Sure, sir. एक बार मुझे मेल कर देना, मैं कल बात करता हूँ सर आपसे.
Yeah, sir. Actually, ऑफिस में रहता हूँ,
ठीक है. हमें कल शाम को बात करता हूँ. मुझे मेल करना एक बार, मैं बात कर रहा हूँ.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Right, guys. Good.
Hello, sir.
हाँ, भाई कौन है?
अरुण.
या अरुण, टेल मी अरुण.
सर डाउट सोच रहा था पूछूं या ना पूछूं, क्योंकि
उसने आर्डर వచ్చింది.
हेलो.
हाँ చెప్పండి.
हेलो.
या अरुण बोलो.
या application.property में जो पोर्ट डालते हैं
हाँ
वो 4 डिजिट ही क्यों होता है क्योंकि उससे कम डाला है ज्यादा तो एरर है
Sir, that is a default. Port number means in the operating system any process will run with the 4-digit number. कोई 4 digit ही होना चाहिए
5 या 3 डालने पे एरर आ जा रहा है
हाँ नहीं लेते सर वो ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम रिलेटेड है ना पूरी डालना पड़ता है
थैंक यू सर
Hello, sir.
हेलो
Yeah, sir. My doubt is how to use that one-to-many relationships in database.
Yes, sir. We will come to that, sir. We will develop a web application and we will show you that.
Okay.
Yeah. Hi, Deepali. What's your doubt?
Hello, sir. My doubt is when we in previous example when we do localhost http.localhost then it downloads the file. Right.
Right.
Yeah, and then the next in next example it shows us the file. How it happens?
Because we added one dependency na Tomcat embedded Jasper. वो dependency JSP को render करके browser पे दिखाता है.
But we have added in the both scenario.
First time I have not added, that's why I downloaded. After that I have added, then it is displayed directly.
Okay, fine, thank you.
One more doubt, Ashok. Actually, startup form was like it need to be download. I mean everything. It needs, right. So why we are again adding this? I mean,
sir, actually Spring Boot main purpose not meant for developing a web application with JSP. Because Spring people are recommending to use a time leaf. So that is the reason JSP they are not supporting by default.
Okay. Okay.
Yes. Okay. Chalo. Good night, guys. Please practice web application by using Spring Boot. हम कल मिलेंगे. We'll continue tomorrow. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good night.
Good night, sir. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
बाय सर
Recording stopped.